Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to wait and see, give everyone a bit of time to drop in. And we'll get started shortly. See everybody dropping in now. That's good. We'll just give it a few more minutes and then we'll get started. I think we'll get started, and for those that aren't quite made it in yet, I'm sure they'll catch up. So thank you all for coming along today to the webinar, Maximising Assisted Living Technology Services within Free Funding Sources. So it's great to see so many people dropping in, especially since I don't know where you guys are in the country, but here it is sweltering hot. So I'm sure there is much more nice things you could be doing outside than sitting listening to me. So thank you for coming along. And it's great to see so many people interested in technology and the way it can be used to support people. So I'm just going to start with a little bit of housekeeping. The webinar is being recorded and a copy will be made available after the session, so you can come back and have a look at anything you might have missed, or by all means share it with your colleagues or anyone else that might be interested that couldn't make it today and are out enjoying the weather and the beautiful sunshine. If you have any questions throughout, please do feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll address them all at the end of the session, so please do pop them in. We will be running some polls throughout today, so please take the time to interact with them. It helps me because I don't feel so lonely being sat here on my own talking to you guys, but also it really gives us a good sort of oversight as to what's happening for you guys and whether or not we're on the right tracks of what we're saying. So first, I'm just going to introduce myself. My name's Clare Barber. I'm actually the clinical lead here at Beanbag Care, but I'm an occupational therapist by background, and I have a long history of working in the sector. So I started life working as a carer, actually, back in my teens, and quickly worked my way up to managing domiciliary agencies, care homes. So I really do understand the pressures of providing care in the industry. But I've also worked in local authorities, NHS trusts, what used to be CCGs, charities. But my passion really is around keeping people at home and independent as possible. And I really, really believe that technology can do that well and help support that aim. I'm not here alone today. I've got some colleagues joining me. Kat, do you want to just unmute yourself and say hello?
Yeah, hi, I'm Kat. I'm one of the business development managers here at Beanbag Care. I myself, like Claire, have a care background in the community and rehabilitation. So I am basically been where you guys are as well. And I'm now marrying both my sales side and my care side together and sharing my passion of our technology.
Brilliant, thanks, Kat. And Puneet's here to join us as well. Puneet, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Puneet Khurana. I'm from technology background and I'm involved in from start of this program development and designing of this program. So currently I'm working as an application engineer for this program.
Brilliant, thanks Puneet. Okay, so let's get started. So just to give you a bit of an introduction to who we are first, so that you can see what we do. The company's name is Secure Meters, and the company created a product called Beanbag Care. And Beanbag Care is a remote monitoring system designed for vulnerable people living independently at home. It's owned by a company called Secure, as I said, and you probably haven't heard of them because they are quite new to the health and social care sector, but they are a big family company and they've been around since 1987. So they have been working on products, manufacturing, distributing, installing products for over 30 years. They already have installations for their other side of the business for in over 50 countries, and they have supplied over 42 million products. And mostly their products were around smart metering. So some of you may have one of those smart meters at home, for example, that tells you how much electricity and gas you're using. So Secure Meters has many of those products are manufactured, made by Secure. So they are renowned and known for being able to develop innovative new products, manufacture them and distribute them, install them, and not only that, but monitor those devices. And it's got a really good reputation for being able to do that. So it means that when they decided to create this new product, Beanbag Care, it already had that kind of experience to draw upon. And you can be assured that there is a big kind of network of things behind that system that is constantly working to continue to develop and innovate and make sure that it's fit for purpose from now into the future. So there's a team of developers, a bit like Puneet, that is there to kind of help support to make sure it moves in the right direction. We've also already seen some successes with this technology. We've rolled it out in other areas, so some areas of the country, and we've shown how actually it can really, really support vulnerable people living alone. The company also holds a number of accreditations, so that just confirms our dedication to the kind of quality and excellent services. So we've got the tech quality accreditation from TSA, and all of the ISO accreditations you would expect from a company like this. So I'm going to ask the first question just to see if you guys are listening and you're out there. If you could just pop the poll up on the screen for me, Vanessa. We're just going to ask you, what are the main difficulties for you in your organisation? And if you do type other or choose other, you can choose as many as you like, but please do just pop in the chat those things that you think are also difficulties. It'd be great for us to kind of hear. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that. That's going to come in. I'm just going to see if there's anything. Chat there. Brilliant. Okay. So it looks to me like the majority of people are sort of saying that budget's biggest issue. That's not uncommon. Having enough time, recruitment being the kind of bigger areas for difficulty in your organisations. So you're not alone. I think most people have those concerns. So let's just kind of look at that. And I'm sure you've probably heard these statistics quite often, but we do have a growing population. And the population is because we have a increased number of people surviving for longer, which is amazing. We know more about our bodies. Our medical interventions have grown over the years. So we're living and surviving things that we would never have survived before. So it means that today, we have over 950,000 people here in receipt of care, which is a lot. But that actually is due to increase by 57% in 2038. So that's a continuous growing difficulty. The difficulty is that we have a deficit of need. So when it comes to the amount of care that we have access to, we don't have enough. We don't have enough care providers. We don't have enough money to pay for those care services. So Age UK did a report that stated that 1.2 million older people currently are not receiving the care that they need. And that's actually increased by half since 2010, so quite a short period of time. So with our population increasing and the needs increasing, there's definitely going to be a big need for care more in the future. So we need to do something about it now. So what are the problems? Staffing, I think some of you have mentioned there, can be a difficulty. And it's a long-standing difficulty. Staff burnout is real. I remember when I was in agency, I was one of those people that clearly had no social life because I always picked up the extra shifts. I would work from 7 in the morning till 10 at night some days, all weekends. I'd pick up all the work where people were off sick. But because I was doing that constantly, you do then end up burning out. And the job that you're doing as a carer is hard. It's not an easy job. It's physical. You are, running up and down stairs, assisting people. You're putting washing in and out washing machines. You're cooking. You're, rolling people. You're washing people. You're pushing people. So it's quite physical, but it's also mentally challenging because you are dealing a lot of the time with quite difficult situations. So it is very challenging, and staff burnout can be a real difficulty. Recruitment issues. We were just constantly recruiting. We had adverts in the papers back then, showing how old I am now. We recruited via local newspaper constantly because we always needed staff. Our turnover could be high at times, and people didn't want to work as a carer because at that time we didn't have good rates of pay. And I'm pretty sure nowadays, because of the amount that the local authorities are able to pay for care, the staff wages don't really come anywhere close to what they should do, unfortunately. Sickness is also a problem. The more you work, the harder you work, the more likely you are to get run down and be off sick, but also because you're out and about seeing lots of different people and you pick things up as you go around. And unfortunately for sickness, it's a bit harder in care. So for me, if I catch COVID, for example, I'm quite lucky. I sit in my office at home and I do my work for the majority of the time. Now, if I caught a condition like COVID, like a cold or a flu-y type bug, if I'm feeling well enough in myself, I can still get up out of bed and go to work. It's not a problem. But for those working in the care industry, you can't, you physically can't. So even after your symptoms have gone, there is still a period of time where you're not allowed to go and see vulnerable people. And as a carer, you can't go out to work. And that can be frustrating both for the carer because they want to work to make the money, but also for the agency as well that have to then cover their calls. All of this can obviously impact staff morale. And staff morale obviously will then impact on things like your retention, staff turnover, but also on the quality of the service that you provide. Now, I'm sure every care provider on this webinar today does a fantastic level of quality within their service. And I'm not disputing that in the slightest, but a lot of the time it's about proving it and actually knowing that that's happening. Complaints can be an issue and they take time to look into thoroughly. And complaints can escalate. So I've had situations where I know a carer made a cup of tea incorrectly once, and that service user then was put off by that carer and didn't say anything because they didn't want to cause trouble, but had this constant negative thought about the carer. After that, carer couldn't do anything right, and eventually escalated into a full-blown written complaint that ended up going to multiple people, including CQC, and it was all over something very small that could have been dealt with very quickly if we'd have known about it. So complaints take time and obviously impact your reputation and the staff themselves. Inspections. I don't know what it's like nowadays, but I used to dread CQC coming to my door, and not because I wasn't providing a good service, but because inevitably you have to be able to prove that, and it's very difficult sometimes to really show the real good work that you're doing. So inspections can be hard, and it's not just CQC. A lot of the time, if you're providing local authority based services, you may get inspected by those as well. So frustrations in the industry, the other thing that I had as a concern as a registered manager is your kind of accountability, your responsibility, because you have a joint legal responsibility to ensure compliance with the regulations. So you have to have good oversight and governance as to what's happening within the agency or within the care that's being provided. And I find that quite difficult to get my head around, because I can't be everywhere for everyone, and I can't have that oversight. So I have to put things in place to enable me to have that kind of overview that our care are being provided appropriately and correctly. And that sort of difficulty can be to make sure that you've got the right people in the right places doing the right sorts of things and getting that feedback back to you. And it's difficult. I mean, how do you ensure that your staff are working safely and compliantly at all times? It can be really difficult. And more we see a lot of bad press about the state of social care. It's constantly in the papers, it's constantly in the news. And I truly believe that we have some of the best services in the world. So what I really want to do is change that narrative. I really want to do something different and try and promote the good news and the good stories and the great things our care services are doing to support people and what they are, the outstanding stuff that we do. So, quick question on your polls. If you can let me know, what stops you from using technology? What is it that sort of limits your use of it? And just choose the one that you think is the most likely, the reason, and the more one that resonates with you more, I guess. Just a few more minutes on that one. Okay. So majority of you are saying cost. Cost is an issue, it's inhibiting. And yes, it does cost money to roll out technology. There's no arguments to that. But luckily, and this is why you're here with me today, there is a pot of money that's come down from government to help fund technology in social care. And it's there to fund and implement and evaluate the effectiveness of care technology in the adult social care sector. And it has aligned to 3 different priorities. One is to increase care quality and safety. One is to, as always, constantly being told, we need to reduce avoidable admissions and readmissions into hospital, and also increase support to people to live independently in their own homes. So the fund will provide funding for any one of those 3 criteria, or if you have a piece of technology that will cover all 3 of those criteria or 2 of them, then that's suitable as well. So let's look at what this means in a little bit more detail. So increasing care quality and safety. And the fund is quite loose, it's quite vague, but it tells you that technology that can support those offering care to provide outstanding and assured quality with mechanisms for oversight and governance. So like we were talking about a moment ago, what the fund is there to do is to try and show and improve quality of care being provided, but give you the opportunity to give that oversight as to what's happening within your agency. And that can be using technology directly or indirectly to improve quality that you provide for people. The next one's avoiding hospital admissions, and that's pretty self-explanatory really, isn't it? It's looking at being able to recognise when things are going wrong for a person, and that can be passively or actively, and be able to prevent things from deteriorating, or recognise when people are falling, for example, and do things to put in place before an ambulance has to be called out. And the last one was to increase support for independence, which could be a number of things. You could really link this to a lot of different areas, but the funding is requesting that it's within priorities to do with the instrumental activities of daily living. So that includes things like managing medications, nutrition, so food prep, shopping, finances, engaging with others, so those communications, being able to speak to people, getting around the community, all of those sorts of things. So as long as the technology that you're applying to the funding for covers one of those or all of those or some of those priorities, you've already kind of ticked box 1. It also suggests that the care technologies should empower individuals and families, so they want to be able to make people more in control of the services they're receiving and the care that they're getting. They want to be able to promote independence and enable people to live well and be a part of their communities more. They want to make sure that they're getting quality and personalised care and support, and making provision for social care to be more efficient and effective. And that helps to kind of resolve those issues around the gap in care that we have at the moment. So where do we come in as a company? How do we meet those criteria and what can we do? So just to give you a bit of an overview about the tech that we provide. So Beanbag Care is a cloud-based system, and it provides a supportive environment, I guess you could say, for your customers. So we provide devices that link together around the home that collect data, and then it transforms that data through very clever algorithms that identify things like risks in the home, and they will send alerts or notifications to a family member via an app. And if the family member are unable to respond to emergencies, it will go to a contact centre that will then back up and call ambulances or call for help if needed. It will also send information to and from care providers. So a care provider can then bring in information from those sensors, devices, and actually send information back to the service user. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. So it will track things like quality of care, it will look at behaviour, and it will look at the environment in the home and see what's happening for that person. and it will enable you to have the right insights to the right person at the right time. So it only provides data when it's needed. You're not going to be bombarded with stuff constantly. Somebody at home receiving care are supported, and this person here we've got as an example actually probably has more of a support network than a lot of your clients. So as an example, this person receives care twice a day for 30 minutes, so that's an hour a day. They go to a community centre potentially for a little time, once a week, twice a week. They have a charity support worker coming in for a social visit, for a chat. They have a son and daughter that interact with them regularly. Unfortunately, though, although that's quite a large level of support, that still means that that person is on their own for the majority of each day. So more than 20 hours a day, that person is still not having any support or any sort of blanket of safety. If you add technology in, they can provide an opportunity to fill those gaps and provide a safety blanket for that person, which can help reassure not only her, but her family as well. So last question, how often do you collect feedback from your customers? Let's give you a few minutes to answer that. Brilliant. So a lot of you are saying that yearly or collecting data yearly. And I would imagine a lot of the time that's via a survey or a phone call to your service users. That's great. We'll come back to that point in a moment. So the Beanbag Care system is a very simple and easy solution, but it's a modular solution. So we can really build it dependent on the needs of your service users, and it can be personalised to fit in with the care that they need. So I'm going to go through it in that way. So at the very basic level, what we do is install a tablet and what we call a gateway, which I kind of see as the brains of the operation. Once you've got this tablet installed, it can offer feedback opportunities. So if we link it in with your scheduling system, we can ask your service users every single time they have a carer visit them what they felt about the quality of the service they received. And that's done really simply by just clicking a smiley face or a sad face, a bit like you have in the toilets when you come out of an airport. You can write comments if you want to be more descriptive, and you can also leave voice messages on the tablet so that you can send them back to the care provider about the service you've received. So that can be done after every visit, but it can also be done at any time during the day or night. So if the person feels like they really want to give feedback on something they've received, they can do that. The other thing is that the family members that have an app can also leave feedback for you. So if they have had interactions with your care staff or your office because they've rang up asking about something, they can also leave you some feedback for that. The feedback's then collated and sent to you via a dashboard so that you can see how you're doing and which care staff potentially are achieving really, providing really good care, where some training needs may be. And if the feedback is really poor, then you'll be alerted immediately so that you know there's a problem going on and you need to resolve. The tablet also offers the opportunity for reliable SOS. So if the person's feeling anxious or has a need, they can hit that red button. It will go straight through to the people that are their responders. And if their responders are unavailable, then it will come through to our contact centre and help will be sought for them. The great thing of tablets is that they have cameras and microphones and speakers, so you can actually use it for virtual calling. So that can be between your service user and their family members, but also with yourself or your carers. So then opens up opportunities for things like hybrid care. You could offer services like prompts for certain activities of daily living. You could do your reviews virtually via camera so that you see your clients more often and you speak to them more often, because you get so much more of a feel for what's going on for a person if you can see their facial expressions and their body language. It can also give reminders and prompts and events. So if you are coming to visit for a review, or you know a doctor's visiting or a podiatrist's coming, or the carer's coming to take them out shopping, you can send a message to the tablet and let them know what's happening for that day. And if you link it to your care system, it can also show you when care visits are taking place. So the benefits of this to you is that your service user is going to feel more listened to. They're going to feel more included in the care that they're getting, so they can actually have those conversations and communications with you whenever they feel they can. And it's always easier doing that via an online system than it is picking up the phone and calling a lot of the time. It means that you can get on top of complaints really quickly. So if anyone's showing any negative kind of feedback, you can instantly go in and try and resolve that situation rather than allowing it to escalate. And you're getting it there and then, so you know what's happening there and then, not 6 months later. This can help improve your staff morale because they're being told when they're doing good jobs. They can be told, you know, you're scoring really high, these clients are really loving you. It really helps to increase your staff morale, but also give you a guidance on staff training. So if you have a staff member that's visiting clients, let's say, that require support with moving and handling, like hoisting, and it's often that that client is giving negative feedback for that carer, then maybe it's down to a training need. Maybe they need some more support when it comes to moving and handling. This in turn will help with your staff retention because it shows that you are really investing in your team. You're wanting them to be trained and be good care staff. You're giving them that good feedback when they're getting it, but also you're using systems and innovating and using new ways of working. So if they are off and they can't visit clients for whatever reason, you may have other opportunities for them to provide services via virtual means. It can help with safeguarding issues, so you can actually highlight concerns about what's going on for the person, and they may all feel more comfortable providing those informations, you know, again, virtually rather than actually picking up the phone and ringing somebody. And it gives you that all-important oversight as to what's going on, which in turn will help give your commissioners a bit of peace of mind to know that they're commissioning services from you that are being overseen and checked, and you're getting that constant feedback. And of course, it gives you those reports for your inspections, so that even the fact that you're giving opportunity for somebody to feedback is a fantastic tick in the box for a lot of the inspections, a lot of the CQC requirements. So that's the basic kind of system that you can have in the home, but you can add things to it depending on needs. So you can also add our sleep service and our comfort service, and you can add them on their own or together. But our sleep and comfort services will look at changes in nighttime behaviour. So if somebody's waking up more often, are they laying in bed too long? Are they not going to bed at night? It also manages the environment. So is it too cold, too hot? Is the humidity levels changing within the home? Carbon monoxide levels changing? So all those things that could be a risk factor for the person. And what it will do is it will alert when there's a problem, and it will notify when things are getting to unsafe levels. So things can be done to prevent it. So let's say somebody has a respiratory condition, for example, like COPD. Obviously, having high levels of humidity in the home is going to exacerbate that condition. It's going to make it worse. If we can recognise that that's happening before it's happening, we can do things like opening windows, stopping whatever it is that's causing that, or highlight problems with ventilation within the home and stop that deterioration from happening. We can pick up when there potentially is deterioration because of disturbances at night, and we can consult with care providers and GPs to let them know that these things are happening. That, in turn, will help prevent hospital admissions, help us better understand the needs of our clients. So a lot of the time we had things like sleeping nights for our clients. And the reason for that, a lot of the time, is actually more because the family insist on it, and they don't feel comfortable leaving their loved one alone, understandably. But I have to say, for probably the majority of sleeping nights that I've ever done as a carer, I very rarely am needed. Why are we kind of providing a service that's not necessarily needed? Because the cost of that alone is expensive. So you could use a system to really see what's going on for that person and find out, actually, are they being disturbed at night? Are they getting up a lot of the time? What is the risk if we don't have a sleeping night with them? And you can also use it to manage that environment. So a lot of people don't like having the heating on because they're worrying about the cost. And I mean, it seems crazy today because it's stinking hot, but if it's starting to come into the sort of later part of the year, it's going to get colder. And we still lose over 4,000 people a year just because the house is too cold. In this day and age, it's crazy to think that people are dying from the cold. So if we can recognise that the home is constantly too cold, we can address that issue and we can start working to prevent any deterioration in their health. So you've got all these systems, but we can also add our full system in. And it's a 24/7 kind of monitoring of movement, but it doesn't require cameras. It doesn't require anyone to put a pendant on, because let's be honest, they don't always put them on. They don't always remember to put them on. And even if they have them, they don't always push them. You don't need to put a watch on or anything like that. And it's non-intrusive. So I can see movement happening within the home, but I don't know what they're doing. They could be star jumping, they could be dancing. I don't know what that movement entails, but I know that there's active movement going on. So we know the person is safe. It will identify falls. So it will send messages of alert and it monitors behaviour within the home. And it can send that information to a responder, a family member, so that if the person has fallen, they can deal with it quickly and efficiently. If that responder is unavailable, it will always escalate to that backup option of a contact centre. So it will detect risks, it will alert in emergencies, and it will help to keep that person safer at home. So this is all well and good, but what's in it for you guys as a care provider? Lots of benefits. It can improve efficiencies and quality. So as we've seen, you can get the feedback, you can constantly see what's going on for your clients, and you can make changes based on those feedbacks so that you can continually work on increasing quality of care. But also, as I said, you can look at how your care is being delivered and make it more efficient so that you can do more in the time that you have. It increases opportunities for the types of care that you can provide, so virtual care calls, and it gives you that all-important oversight. It can help support with staffing to retain staff or potentially recruit staff, and also gives you that much needed evidence for any inspections that you might have, and shows your reputation really, because you're using new ways and being innovative. But most importantly, it's providing a service for your service user, your customers, that will help them feel less anxious, more supported, more in control of the care that they provide. Because let's be honest, not one of us here, I hope, sat in this meeting today, got into this industry because we want to be multi-billionaires and drive Porsches and spend time on our yachts. The reason we came into this industry is because we care. We actually do have a want, a need to support people in their homes. And that's what it's all about. And that's why we're here. It also links with benefits for the local authority. Again, it will improve efficiencies and quality in care. And it's constantly, when I speak to local authorities, it's one thing that they are saying, that we commission care, but we have no idea what happens for our service users. And we don't have enough money to go around. So we need to make it as efficient as possible, that provides the support that's needed, absolutely, but not doing it when it's not. So in turn, that will help to decrease costs on the care bill. It gives oversight for a local authority as well, because it will show that your agency is providing good quality care. So I will give them more of the commissioned hours that I have. It helps to increase capacity, because it means that we can be more efficient and more directive with the care that we're providing. Again, it's increasing opportunities to do different types of modelling of care, and helps them save time, because things like complaints can also cause issues for local authorities. They will get complaints and they have to go in, investigate those and work out what's going on for the person. But again, it's really important to remember that this system is there for the person, for the services, for the customer that you're providing. It helps to make them feel more in control and more supported and less anxious. So going back to the fund to help pay for this fantastic piece of technology, it will pay for all the hardware. So all the devices that we're looking at putting in the person's home, the technology fund will pay for those. It will pay for the installation of it and kind of setup of that. And it pays for the ongoing costs for 12 to 18 months of the project. So you don't have to worry about any of the cost side of things. On top of that, it will pay for a staff member, and that person cannot provide the care, but they can set up and kind of manage the project itself. So you don't really need to take any time away from your current staff. You can actually have a staff member doing that for you. And it has to have evaluation, which I think is fantastic because it really gives evidence to show that this stuff is working. It really should be rolled out and available in a much easier, more economical way. So the fund requires that 20% of it is paying for evaluation of the project. Now, don't get panicky or worried. The expression of interest, the first stage of this process, has to be in by the 20th of September, which I appreciate is not that far away. But leave it with me, I'll come on to that in a moment. So please don't let that put you off. And then money should come out if you are successful in January 24. So it's quite a short period of time that we have to work through the process. The first round of these has already gone through. So there are 3 kind of waves of this technology fund coming out. And so there is opportunities afterwards as well if this one isn't a possibility. So what can we do to support? Well, we can help with that collaboration. We can get you in touch with people if you're not already in touch with them, and we can support those conversations because we appreciate that you guys don't have mass amounts of spare time to be chasing around people to make meetings. So we can support with that. We have already got an expression of interest and we can work on the paperwork to make that work. And we have multiple evaluation partners that we are in touch with, and we've done this before. So we understand the process of what it looks like to have a project evaluated, the process of recruiting an evaluation partner and what's involved in that. So we have experience having to have done all that. We also provide all the installation, all the setup, all the training, anything that you need to be able to get this thing up and running, we can provide. To apply for the funding, in the very basic, simple level, you have to have an ICB involved. You have to have somebody from the ICB because they will be administering the money, the grant. So we have to have an okay from them that they're happy to put their name on the form. We should have care providers, and we have to have an evaluation partner, and a local authority. It's preferable to have them on board. So the expression of interest should be submitted. And it can be by the care provider or local authority. Actually, we can submit it on your behalf as long as we have your name and your kind of buy-in for it, that you're happy to go ahead with it. And as I said, it should be submitted. The integrated care system should be involved. Please don't let this worry you because the expression of interest is just the first stage. So it is quite a simple document where you clarify what it is you're setting out to do. You don't have to have 100% detail on exactly how it's going to work and exactly what it's going to do. You don't even have to have a named evaluation partner at this stage if you don't want to put one in, as long as you're working towards that. And as I said, we already have a draft document ready to submit that we can tailor to your own area, to your own needs, and we can make it work for the project that we'll be doing with you. We can add anything from all of your service users to half of your service users to a handful of identified service users. We can work with one care provider or multiple care providers, multiple companies, one company with multiple offices. We can provide different levels of service, and we can do that for everyone, or for, you know, half your cohort of people only want just the basics and half will want the fulls. We can work with you to make it as flexible as possible. And the fund allows us to provide services from 50 to 350 different service users, dependent on those kind of types of service and the types of number of branches, etc. The evaluation partner will be there to understand the impact of the service, but that's not about you as a company. It's about how the technology is working with you and whether that supports your delivery and makes benefits for everybody, and wants to see the wider impact of technology and how that's going to work. So please don't worry that it's going to be checking whether or not you're another inspection that you have to deal with, but you need to be there as part of that relationship, and you need to facilitate access for them to be able to get that data that they need. So you need to be willing to sort of sign up to that. But most importantly, you need to be willing to use the technology. It's all well and good for us going out, installing all this great stuff into people's homes and you getting loads of feedback, but never actually opening the dashboard and having a look at it, and then never implementing any changes because of it. Then the technology is rendered useless anyway, because you're not interacting with it and you're not using it. So you need to be on board to use it and be willing to use that technology. And of course, report on your progress and how you're finding it. And that's why the evaluation partner's there, and they are going to be separate from us so that they can really do a proper kind of step away from the system and not be biased in any way. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview as to how it will all work and what we'll do. And there is a big team of us here to support you with the process. You've got 3 of us on the call today, but there is a whole bunch of other people behind the scenes. So we're all here to help work through and talk to you a little bit more detail, and that's no obligation. And I'm hoping today that we've pretty much given you evidence to show that, yes, it costs money, but the fund can cover that. So you don't need to worry about any outlay of money. Time, well, you can recruit somebody to help manage that project. And like I said, we're here to support you with a lot of that work that you'd have to do. Risk, well, it's quite risk-free because we've proven that it works. We already have it working in other areas. We've got projects running that we can talk to you about. You don't have to invest anything really. So it's quite low risk for you. So why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you go ahead and do it? So thank you for listening today. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to get rid of the presentation now, and we're just going to go to the questions. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat at this point. And I will ask Puneet and Kat to come along and pop yourselves back on screen for me. Right, so the first question I've got, what else has the system, or where else has the system been used? Puneet, do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. So the system actually, it's a cloud-based system, and it is completely backed up in a UK-based data center. It adheres to all GDPR regulations, and it is currently being used in one of the projects in North. We are piloting with a set of people in North, and the results, I mean, this is also being evaluated. I think you want to add this, Claire?
Thanks, Puneet. Yeah, so as Puneet said, it's being used currently in other pilots. We have other sites where it's been installed across the country. The pilot that we're working with has a very specific cohort of people, which has given us some fantastic insights into how we can help support them more. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, because it's still an ongoing project, we're not allowed to give you too much detail about who and what and where, but I can give you some insights as to what we've seen so far. So do get in touch if you want to know a bit more about that. Kat, do you want to answer the question, how easy is a tablet to use?
It's really easy to use. I can hear the feedback. It was designed with our Bristol Old People's Forum, so we had our service users help us.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Kat. One of the questions, who can apply for the funding? I can take that one. So it has to be done through your ICB, but the person has to be a CQC registered provider. So anybody that has care provision that's CQC registered can be part of that application. I don't know for definite there has been applications already gone through, but my feeling is that the more collaborative your expression of interest is, the better chance you'll have of getting the funding. So if it is just a care provider through that ICB, yes, you can put that funding application in, but if you have multiple branches or multiple local authorities, it's probably more likely for that to kind of be taken forward. Next question is, how is the feedback sent for multiple service users with different care agencies supporting? Is this information sent via email, for example, or can it link with in social care systems such as Mosaic? And can the systems be reused if somebody doesn't need it anymore? Puneet, sorry, that's a big question. I'll break it down a bit, make it a bit easier. So how is the feedback sent in the first instance?
So all of the feedback that is captured from the tablet or from the responders, all this goes into our backend. These are stored in the backend, and there are some default dashboards and reports prepared on that can be exported in multiple formats. We can explore or other options that works best for you. We can do some in bespoke reports with you if that works.
And they were asking how they can link with social care systems like Mosaic. So can you kind of work with other systems and integrate those together?
I'm not sure what is this mosaic system. I have not seen, so I need to work upon this, but I can come back on this. But yeah, there are APIs that can export the data to different formats, or the reports can be exported in different formats like Excel or PDF.
Absolutely. I think the difficulty, and you'll probably hear it a lot of times in technology, is that there are lots of different systems for lots of different purposes. And the answer generally is integration. You know, generally there's always an opportunity to try and integrate. It's just that if we said yes to everything and did everything, then we would literally spend our lives just integrating with other systems, because everybody has something different. So yes, there is an opportunity to have those discussions, and there are simple ways to get around it in the meantime, like Puneet said, some sort of general upload, download opportunities. So please do talk to us. And the other one out of that question was, can the systems be reused if someone doesn't need it anymore?
Yeah, so for if some reason the system comes out from one property, most of the kit parts of the kit can be reused. There are some parts that cannot be reused because of hygiene purpose, but most of the parts can be reused.
Brilliant, thank you. So the question here is, how long does funding cover us to pay for the ongoing costs of using the system, and what is the monthly cost after the funding is exhausted? So just to give you an overview on the funding side of it, you can have this system for a year up to 18 months. So the ongoing costs are covered up to 18 months if that's the length of the project that you're putting in. In regards to what happens afterwards, actually that's part of the process of setting this up. And in theory, the evaluation portion of this technology fund is there to prove technology works, so that the powers that be at the top with the purse strings can actually see the benefit of technology and how actually it saves money in the long term. So in theory, this evaluation can feed back on how well it's doing. And we've worked out that just 2 weeks of not being admitted to a care home, for example, will pay for the cost of this system. So it is looking at those cost reductions. The cost on a monthly basis would be pretty on par with what you pay for your pendant alarms, your button alarms. So around about £31 a month ongoing costs. So not really far away from what people are already having to pay. Hopefully that answers your question. So how much does the system cost per month? Oh, I just had that one. And does the person need Wi-Fi, or does it work with mobile technology? Puneet, do you want to answer the Wi-Fi question for us?
Sure. So the system actually requires, actually it works on internet, so it requires a decent internet connection. But if there is no broadband or Wi-Fi available at a service user's property, it can work on a SIM-based Wi-Fi router.
Brilliant. Kat, one for you. If we are a small care provider, can we still get involved with this?
100%. Or you can merge with local care providers as well, and sort of do a collaboration with locals too. So if you want to go on your own or join with locals, that's whatever way you want to go, but definitely 100%.
And gosh, there's lots of questions. When did you say the deadline for this expression of interest is, and can we submit multiple? So can we submit one for Beanbag and one for other technology as well? Yes. So the expression of interest is on the 20th of September for this wave. There is another wave coming out after this one. But I imagine that the people who were declined in wave 1 will probably try and resubmit in wave 2. So every time you have another wave, you're increasing the number probably of people submitting. So I would recommend, if possible, getting it in on this wave and getting something in for the 20th. And again, we can support you to do that. Please don't worry. Yes, you can submit multiple. You can submit as many expressions of interest as you like. And yes, you can submit one for us and one for another technology as well. That's not a problem. They actually asked a question about this week around, can you do multiple pieces of technology in one bid? And the answer to that is yes. However, you have to have good justification as to why the two need to be in the same bid. What is it that they're providing? Otherwise, it is two separate applications. So yes, you can put in as many as you like. I would also say that because the ICB has to have the final say, because they'll be sort of distributing the money, there are some ICBs that have already said that they will no longer endorse any further applications. So if you are in an area where your ICB is saying that, please don't let that put you off, because a lot of them are sort of available for the next wave. Or if your sort of project will kind of fit in with other projects that they're already looking to submit, then it might be that you can work in that collaboration anyway. So do still get in touch, because we can certainly help and steer in the right direction. Is the expression of interest binding? So if we're approved and no longer wish to pursue the funding, are we under any obligations? No, absolutely not. And in actual fact, I believe that when they had the first wave, they lost probably about 10% of the expressions of interest when it got to stage 2. Even if they were accepted, they decided to back out. So you're not in any obligation whatsoever. And actually you may not make it through first stage. So it's kind of one of these things, you're better off putting something in and trying than not. And also, yes, you are kind of binded by what you're saying in your expression of interest, but it is quite loose what they've asking you to submit. So it doesn't give specific details about, you know, I will work from 9 to 5 on this date to project this part of the project. So it's more kind of a high level than that. We hope to support X amount of people to do this and that. And you actually provide more detail in the next wave, in the next stage of the process. So I think that's all the questions. If anyone else has got any others after this, please feel free to get in touch, and we'll happily answer as many as we can. No obligations. And if you want us to come along and show you the kit, or even just talk to us about how we might be able to support you with putting forward a bid for this technology grant, then just give us a shout. We're happy to help. But thank you ever so much for listening.